What is up, Snooze Babes? It's SnoozeVGC. Today we're talking about everybody's favorite duck.
This is cancer. This is so much cancer that I can feel the tumors growing on my back.
Porygon-Z. Now I say favorite duck, kind of kidding, because a lot of people have had a headache dealing with this thing. But personally, I love it because me and other Galaxy brainers who use the hyper offense team composition love Porygon-Z for what it brings to the metagame. Hyper offense has been a playstyle that's been really struggling because of how Dynamax works in making Pokemon more bulky. We can't pick up those one-hit KOs, and most of the time the teams are so frail that they just KO us back. But Porygon really helps with that. If we look at its base stats, we can see that it has 135 special attack for its base and actually 90 speed, which is actually pretty good in this metagame right now. Its defenses aren't that great, which is kind of its balancing quality. It doesn't have a lot of defensive capability. It's a hyper offensive mon in nature, so you have to work around that and try to not take as many hits. Its Porygon-Z is good for putting out the massive damage on teams with the adaptability, basically making its stab double instead of just 1.5. With the adaptability and with Hyper Beam, it can pick up one-hit KOs on a lot of the meta threats. It can pick up Rillabooms, Cinderaces, anything that doesn't resist normal really, it can one-hit KO, even some Dynamax Pokemon. It's really good for softening up the team for your back Pokemon to come in and kind of just clean up. So if you have something really fast like Cinderace or Dragapult, you can lead a Porygon, pick up a KO or 2 or 3 and soften up the opponent's team so that your other Pokemon can come in. They don't have to do much besides just hit their move and pick up the KO and proceed to just defeat the opponent. That's something that is really good for if it doesn't just flat out beat your opponent by itself. These are some sample sets that I got off Pikalytics. Pikalytics does a great job of keeping track of showdown usage and cart usage to see what the most common sets are with Pokemon. And if you look, you'll see that these are the most common. Feel free to use these, and you can check these out at pikalytics.com to see what items Porygon is also running. Hint, hint, it's Life Orb or Silk Scarf. But these ones are really great. Most of them you can tell I just want to hit, go fast, hit hard. I personally think that Porygon has a little bit more potential to it if you want to run a little bit more bulk into your Porygon, because its offensive pressure is so strong that you don't necessarily need max speed, max special attack to make good use of Porygon. It's just such a good Pokemon, especially if you like hyper offense. Now, how you use Porygon is in Team Preview, you want to make sure that you first check to see how many resists they have to your normal type attack. Do they have a lot of rock types like Tyranitar and Gigalith, or do they have a lot of ghost types like Marowak and Dragapult, steel types, etc.? If they don't really have a lot of those, then Porygon does an excellent job as a lead. Most of the time you're going to want to be leading it into those situations with a partner that can support Porygon so that it can do what it needs to do, Hyper Beam everything to death without much threat. It's really simple, which is really nice. And that's one of the things that's nice about hyper offense, is that it's really straight to the point. There's not a lot of setup, there's not a lot of switching. You just want to check to see what your opponent has. If they don't have it, you lead it, you proceed to just
Krakatoa!
sweep the team, right? So some good partners for Porygon, now when you're wanting to play it, are going to be partners that really support it, because it does so much on its own that it just needs the support to function. So the first partner that I think is probably one of the best is Clefairy. Clefairy has redirection support, helping hand support, and the Friend Guard ability, which will boost Porygon's defenses by 25%. So it can take a lot more hits and dish out a lot more damage. So that's also a common lead, is Porygon and Clefairy together to really support each other as redirecting attacks or helping handing to pick up some KOs. Another partner I think is really good for Porygon is going to be Grimmsnarl. This hairy beast has double screens, so you can set up reflex and light screens, which will boost its defenses by 50%. they can get even bulkier, but the downside is there's no redirection, no helping hand. It's basically just screen support, Thunder Wave, Spirit Break, which is kind of the downside. So if you want to get really supportive with Grimmsnarl, then that's a great way to go as well. Whimsicott is really good for Tailwind support in case you want to just go really fast right off the bat, or hit the fake tears on some Pokemon like Lapras, which are usually pretty hard to KO, and then just pick it up. Rillaboom is also really good for fake out support. Togekiss is really good, another one for redirection. It also is a threat in itself, so if Porygon-Z isn't looking too good, you can just Dynamax your Togekiss and start going to town with that. And then another Tailwind user, Talonflame. Talonflame is a little bit niche because, you know, as we know, it's fallen far from its graces of 2016. But it has that priority Tailwind as long as it's match XP, and it also helps deal with the fighting types that Porygon sometimes has a hard time dealing with. So those are some good partners that you guys can try to think about maybe you want to use. I personally like Clefairy the most. Like I said, it's so strong and it's just so cute. Just follow one of me and just come over here, bye-bye. And then, why do I say those things?
I want to die.
The checks you can use to help check Porygon are pretty simple. Anything that resists normal, any normal resist is going to check. And I say check because there really is like no counter to a Porygon-Z when it's Dynamaxed. Even things that resist it can sometimes take huge damage from Porygon. It's just going to come down to how smart you can play and how smart the person is using Porygon-Z. But some good checks are ghost types. Being able to rotate ghost types into normal type hyper beams are going to be really helpful for you if you can call those switches and those attacks. Then that way they're wasting their turns, they're not getting speed drops, and they are pretty much just getting put in a situation where they're going to have to use a move that's non-stab. Dragapult is the best for this because it has the clear body, so its speed can't be lowered, and it can hit Porygon and Clefairy, which are probably the two most common, with neutral stab. So it's gonna go, that one I think is the best one at helping to check Porygon-Z on the ghost side. Steel types like Duraludon and Excadrill are also great because steel resists, and Porygon doesn't have any moves that can hit steel types for super effective damage. Meanwhile, steel types can hit it really hard, and if you're something like Excadrill, you also have Max Quake, which will boost its special defense even more, making it harder for Porygon to take out. Fighting types are more of a check in the way that they can OHKO Porygon even while it's Dynamax. Things like Cinderace and Terrakion do an awesome job at helping check Porygon. Even Cobalion does better because it's fighting still, so it takes resisted from the normal type attacks and hits super effective with close combat and Sacred Sword. So that's something to maybe think about if you can fit it on your team. Is a good fighting type. Another Pokemon that really checks Porygon super well is Tyranitar. Tyranitar, with its ability to set the sand, boost its special defense, and Dynamax, means Porygon-Z, even with helping hand half the time, isn't going to be able to do anything to Tyranitar. Tyranitar has access to rocks, has access to crunch, has access to even superpower to hit it for super effective damage and boost its own attack. So Tyranitar is going to be great, and I think we might see a rise in sand teams if Porygon-Z continues to be as popular as it is, because Excadrill and Tyranitar do a great job at checking Porygon-Z. They boost their special defenses, they boost their defenses, they can boost their attack. I just think that it's a great archetype, and Porygon-Z doesn't like to see it. Another way to check PZ is with your own PZ. So Porygon does a great job at kind of countering itself. The Porygon-Z matchup mirror is actually pretty difficult if you don't know how to take it out. So if you know of a better way to beat Porygon with your own Porygon, then you're going to be way ahead of the game. The Porygon-Z matchup is really difficult because there's so many variations of Porygon, like the redirection with Clefairy, the Tailwind, the Grimmsnarl. So figuring out how to best handle that will be beneficial for you in the long run. Redirection is kind of like a more defensive passive way to check Porygon. So if you have like your own redirection, usually like Clefairy or Togekiss or a Moongus, then you can buy yourself usually 1, maybe 2 turns if it's a really bulky variant to redirect an attack and to retaliate with your own Pokemon, whether it be your own Porygon or a Still type or a Ghost type, things like that, to put yourself in a board position where you're not as vulnerable to Porygon's Hyper Beams. And then if you're looking to midgetate damage and kind of check it that way, then you're going to want to look into something like Grimmsnarl to be able to set up reflects and light screens so that your team can take those max Hyper Beams. Some Pokemon that usually get one-hit KO'd by a Hyper Beam, if they have a light screen up, they'll be able to take at least one of them now and be able to do some damage before they go down. And so Grimmsnarl was the last one I can think of where it could help with that Porygon matchup. So that's really all I had for this kind of educational video on Porygon. Porygon is just such a great Pokemon in my opinion. I love it. I love to use it. It's just so fun for me because it fits my play style. But a lot of people have a hard time with it. So hopefully this kind of gave you an idea of how it works, what people will be using it for, the partners they could possibly have, and how you could possibly maybe change a Pokemon or 2 on your team to help check it if it's something that you're really struggling with. But I hope you guys liked the video. Please like and subscribe the video and tell me what you would like to know more about, or if you'd like more videos like this, or just plain old boring battle videos. Just let me know. I don't know what you guys want. So we'll check you later, and as always, I'll see you guys on the ladder.